Who would like to hear a story?
I would.
Okay.
Is it good?
Well, yes. So we're going to do the story of Rainbow Crow. Rainbow Crow brings back a piece of the sun. This is a very, very old story. Some say it came from the Lenape people, others say it came from the Cherokee, but it may be even much, much older. It may have come from a time before people, when all the animals spoke the same language and played games together in the meadow. Games like fire in the forest. What are some of the animals that might have been there then? Yes. Mountain lion. Elk.
Seal.
Deer.
Bear.
Bear.
Owl.
Owl. Yeah, so all these animals that you're familiar with, yes.
Wolf.
Wolf, yes. There's also rainbow crow. Yes.
Bluebird.
Bluebird, yes. And rainbow crow had beautiful feathers, even more beautiful than bluebird. Rainbow crow had the feathers, all the colors of the rainbow in it. And rainbow crow had the most beautiful voice, the most beautiful songs of all the birds. For the animals, it was like summertime all the time, but they just loved to get out and play games together. And, sometimes it rained and it kept everything green, but it was like perpetual summer until one day it wasn't. It rained some more, and then the rain turned to snow, and the snow began to bury everything in blankets of cold white snow. And the animals, they started to get cold. Does anybody feel that getting cold?
Yeah.
It's getting a little chilly. So yeah, the animals started to get cold, and the animals started to shiver a little bit. They huddled closer to stay warm. Can you huddle closer to stay warm? And they wondered what to do, and they huddled together. They all came together, decided to hold a conference. And Owl said, what we need to do to stay warm is we need to bring back a piece of the sun. Yes, okay, everybody agreed. We needed to bring back a piece of the sun. But who should go? So what animal should go?
Rainbow Crow.
Rainbow Crow. So Rainbow Crow was eager to do the job. Yeah, and Rainbow Crow said, yes, I'll go. And he said, no, Rainbow Crow, you're such a pretty bird. You could never do such a job like this. We need someone important to go, somebody big, regal. This is a job for a king. Like, this is a job for the mountain lion. And mountain lion is like, yes, I can do this. And so mountain lion took off and started going along, kind of a lope, headed towards the sun, going to get a piece of the sun. And it was a very long journey, very, very long way. And it went, just kind of kept going and going and going, and days and days, and he traveled. And finally, he got to the sun. But there was one problem. It was up in the sky. So Mountain Lion jumped as high as he could jump and tried to get a piece of the sun. And he jumped again. And he jumped again and again and again. And Owl had such good vision. He could look out there in the far distance and see this little tiny mountain lion going boing, 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 boing. But Mountain Lion couldn't get a piece of sun. And he was so embarrassed, so ashamed of himself, that he never came back, never wanted to be seen again. And to this day, mountain lions are like the most regal animal you will find in the forest, but they don't like to be seen. They're always hiding away. So who went next? Yeah.
Eagle.
Eagle. Okay.
No, the rainbow.
Yeah, it was eagle. So everybody thought, okay, That's a long ways, but eagle's really fast. Eagle flies really fast. So eagle took off and screeched, made a screeching sound as he flew, and flew and flew and flew and flew for the sun. And it was a really long ways. It flew really hard. And then the closer the eagle got to the sun, notice it started getting hot. It was like getting so hot, it was starting to smoke a little. Eagle got right up to the sun, pecked the sun. And you know what happened? It was so hot, it was like those feathers on top of his head just whoosh. And he became a bald eagle. And eagle came back to the group. The animals, they all snickered a little bit. It's a bald eagle. Lost all his feathers. So, bald eagle didn't get back with a piece of the sun. So who went next? Yes.
Rainbow crow.
Oh, everybody knew that wasn't going to work.
Owl, because she can fly up to the sun, and then she can pick off a piece of the sun.
Okay. Yes. So it was owl. Everybody thought, owl, you are the leader of the council. We know that you can do this. So owl took off flying towards the sun. And it was a long way. It was very tiring, and sometimes owl would kind of screech in just exhaustion. Squeak, squeak. Went flying and flying towards the sun. But there's one problem. Owl's eyes were so big, the sun just burned and blinded Owl, and just couldn't go any closer to the sun, and Owl couldn't make it. And ever since, owls have been super sensitive to the sunlight, so they prefer to be out at night. So who went next?
Rainbow crow.
Rainbow Crow.
He has to go.
You know, Rainbow Crow should probably go, but nobody thinks Rainbow Crow can do it. Who else?
Bluebird.
Bluebird. Interesting. Okay. So, Bluebird, the thing is, you see, Bluebird wasn't actually blue. Bluebird was white. In fact, a lot of the animals were white. But Bluebird flew and flew and flew and flew so high, she touched the sky and turned blue. And that's how bluebirds got their color. But she never did make it to the sun. So who went next? Yeah.
Deer.
Deer. Okay. So, deer volunteered, and they thought that was good. Yeah, deer's big, deer's strong. Deer can do it. And deer said, I can bounce really high. Got these springy legs. I can bounce over big bushes and fences. And so deer went bounding off as fast as it could go. As fast as deer could go. Running and 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 running. Until deer was exhausted. And looked around, and it was like all that yummy grass was covered in a big blanket of snow. What was deer to do? Deer started nibbling on some twigs, some branches, some branch tips. Oh, I've never tried these before, but they're actually pretty tasty. Deer went off nibbling on twigs and forgot about getting a piece of the stuff. Who else went? Yes.
Rainbow crow.
Rainbow crow.
Yes, to go. Elk.
Sure, we'll do elk. So, elk is slightly bigger than deer, a little bit more stamina just to go out there and make this trip bigger, can jump higher. And elk went and finally got close to the sun. In fact, elk, like a lot of the animals, had that white hair. It was all white all over. And the closer elk got to the sun, the more that hair started to get kind of toasted and change colors, almost like a marshmallow. Like, you know, you see the golden color on a marshmallow? and sometimes black. And elk, its fur turned into this like golden marshmallowy black mix. And finally it just got too hot, and elk turned around and ran as fast as it could back, so fast it didn't burn his butt. And if you look at the elk, it's got this white marshmallow butt, but the rest of it is toasted like a marshmallow. That was gonna work. Who went next?
How was skunk?
Skunk. Okay. Skunk said, you know, my legs are so small, it'd take me forever to get to the sun. We kind of hatched a plan. The fox said, Fox, come over here. I got an idea. I'm not sure if it's a good one, but let's try this. The fox's eyes kind of went big. Wasn't sure if this was a good idea. But said, okay, fine. It's important. We'll do this. We'll do this for everybody. So Skunk and Fox headed out together, and Skunk was a little slow. So finally, Fox let Skunk ride on his back. And you know, they both had white hair. Fox had white hair, Skunk had white hair. And they traveled, and it took a really, really long time. And they knew that neither of them could jump up to get a piece of the sun. But there was this idea, okay? And so they got out there as close as they could get. And Skunk turned around behind a couple of branches, couple of straight up trees like this, and turned tail towards the sun. And said, Fox, okay, now you go on the other side here and just stick your tail out, okay? Okay, and so Fox did. And Skunk, he let loose, sprayed the sun, and it just like caught on fire. It's like all that spray caught on fire, and whoosh, big ball of flame. And there was so much flame that that Skunk himself got charred, except where the shadows of the two trees were, left two white stripes. If you look at a skunk today, you'll see the two white stripes that were the shadows of the trees, and the rest of the skunk was just charcoal black. And poor Fox, his end of the deal was to be the fuse that caught the flame. Well, that flame was so hot, most of Fox turned red, and that's how we got Red Fox. But his poor tail just caught on fire and burning, and Fox went running away and jumped in a snowbank and put out the fire. But today, Red Fox, you can still see the fire in his fur, that red fur, and you can still see that charred black tail. So it was a creative plan, but it didn't quite work. And all the animals were like in despair at this point. It's like, isn't there anybody that could bring back a piece of the sun?
Rainbow Crow.
Sun.
Rainbow guy. He hasn't gone?
You're right. Rainbow Crow hasn't gone. Yeah. Okay. So Rainbow Crow just spoke up again and said, have faith in me. I can do this. I know I can. I know I can bring back a piece of the sun. And nobody else knew what to do because everything else they tried hadn't worked. And so all their hopes lasted with Rainbow Crow and said, Rainbow Crow, yes, please bring us back a piece of the sun. And so Rainbow Crow first went to Yellow Warbler and said, Yellow Warbler, you have the softest, most beautiful nest. May I borrow this to bring back a piece of the sun? And Yellow Warbler agreed. And so Rainbow Crow set out, and it was a really long journey. But Rainbow Crow was strong. And more than physically strong, he believed. He believed that he could do this, that he needed to do this. He needed to bring back a piece of the sun. And it was a long way. And he flew, but he was very determined. Very determined. And the closer he got to the sun, the hotter he started to get, and his beautiful feathers started to turn black. Just getting blacker and blacker and blacker until poor Rainbow Crow was turning black as coal. But he was determined to bring back a piece of the sun. And And finally, he got up. He got up and he was just like practically on fire. And he pecked out a piece of the sun. And very carefully, Rainbow Crow put that piece of the sun in Yellow Warbler's nest. It started to fly back to camp. And as Rainbow Crow flew, the wind whistled through that nest, putting air into that little piece of the sun. And it got warmer and warmer. And the nest began to smoke more and more. And Rainbow Crow was like breathing all that smoke. Got hoarser and hoarser, losing his voice. And Rainbow Crow came flying back to camp with a nest that was just getting hotter and hotter and hotter until it burst into flame.
It's catching on fire.
Just as Rainbow Crow
It's catching on fire.
I see it.
reached camp and he put it down.
It's burning!
And quickly, the animals put little sticks on it to keep it alive. They'd worked so hard for that fire, they didn't want to lose it now.
It's actually getting warmer for once.
And all the animals gathered around to protect the little flame. Felt that if they could keep it alive, they could all stay warm. They'd all be comfortable and happy now. And they were so happy to have fire. They said, "Oh, Rainbow Crow, sing us a beautiful song to celebrate." And Rainbow Crow opened his mouth and, "Gah! Gah!" And his throat was hoarse from all that smoke. And he lost his beautiful voice. And today, you still hear that raspy call of Crow, and you see his charcoal black feathers. But if you look close at Crow's feathers, you can still see the iridescent colors of the rainbow hidden in its feathers. And that is the story of Rainbow Crow.
Why do you make it go even bigger and bigger?
All right.